Hey everybody, welcome back to my podcast. I am your host, Jada Sharice, and you are now tuned in to More to the Story, the podcast and show. Today, I have a very, very special guest, and you guys, I know I say that all the time, but seriously, she is so special. She's so loving, supportive, encouraging. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a woman of God. And if I had to choose someone from my Facebook, who's always supporting or, leaving positive comments, it would for sure be her. So please allow me to introduce my guest, Jafora Fox.
Oh, hi, Jada. Thank you so much. I am absolutely so excited to be a part of your podcast, the More to the Story.
The podcast and show?
Yes, podcast and show.
Yes.
And I am absolutely excited to be a part, to be here.
Yes.
And I am Jafora Fox, a wife, a mother, a teacher. Actually have my own business as an entrepreneur. I teach courses in one of the things I do is online courses in financial literacy education, as well as how to start your business. Also the actual business as an entrepreneur. My services that I offer is life coach, business coach, and financial coach. And I'm a teacher, and as well as I'm completing my PhD, so I will be
definitely. Let's clap for that.
Yes, soon to be Dr. Jafora Fox, and so I'm definitely determined to complete that. I am getting my doctorate in business administration with a concentration in industrial organizational psychology.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
and that means
in a nutshell, actually just going in from a business perspective, whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, ministry, really anything where you have to come in with the behaviors of people and how it functions and how people function and why people do what they do. I think the psychology of things is the why. And how I can come in and make that better.
Yeah.
And how I can help someone see some things that they probably are not seeing. And so the psychological part along with the business aspect of it going together, because I believe everything starts with the mind.
Right.
And so I take all of those, the skills and the things that go along with that and apply that even in my life coach, even in the financial coaching and the business. It really all starts with the mind. It all starts with the perspective of how you see what it is that you're trying to do.
And that's so interesting. And I even thought about going to school for psychology. But then I was just like, no. After I graduated from DePaul, go Blue Demons, I decided that I didn't want to go back to school. DePaul was so expensive. I didn't want to take out any more student loans. But I love the mind. I love getting down to the root of things, And any of my friends or family would tell you, I need the details when you tell me the story. What did you think at first? What did you say? What were you wearing? Where were you sitting? And I crave that, to know what people are thinking, because it does dictate our actions. And with the podcast, I get to do that. I talk to people and I get into their minds as they tell their stories. And I truly believe that we all have a story to tell,
Absolutely.
And it's not for us to keep, but it's for us to tell, to share that story, because you never know what life you can change or what life you can save by telling your story.
Right.
You're a teacher, so you teach financial literacy online, right?
Right.
What kind of classes?
Well, actually, it's an 8-week series.
Okay, 8-week
series. I go
series.
to different things. The first is budgeting.
Okay.
And
important.
Then, very important. That's
first
like the first thing, and so we really start with budgeting. So, pulling that out on paper. What does that actually look like? And then it takes a couple weeks really for that to be put together, because it's the mindset.
Right.
And it's when you look at your budget and you go over it, a lot of the spending you're doing could be from emotional spending. Emotional, it's the mind. You think you need something that you actually don't need.
Right.
And so I spend a lot of time with the mind of what that looks like. And then moving on to just your credit. We talk about that, what that looks like. And that's another couple of weeks. They'll do touch on too as well with credit is home ownership, also life insurance.
Okay.
and those things like that, financial planning. And
Right.
so each week can entail, some weeks are longer than others because of depending upon what it is. And it is online with a group or as an individual.
Okay.
You know.
Got it.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me, that you're not from Chicago, and we'll get into the reconnection of everything. But you're not from Chicago. You're from?
I am originally from Florida, Atlantic Beach, Florida, with palm trees, the beach.
The Sunshine
the
State.
Sunshine State.
Much different from Chicago.
Much different. So it's the salt life is what it's kind of referred to as, So definitely miss that. And being here in the Midwest definitely makes you crave when the weather is not as good. And then I talk to friends and family, and, I could be dressed in boots and a coat, and my girlfriend has on flip-flops, and so it's like,
why am I here?
Why am I here? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But then I spent a lot of time, most of my time in Atlanta area, which that's where my sons live now.
Okay.
And then I have my 4 adorable grandsons. So I am a nana. Yes,
you're a nana.
Yes.
I love that.
That is the most amazing sound to hear.
Yeah.
To hear their little voices saying, "Nana, I love you, I miss you."
Yes.
And they're all together, and I get to hear it like 4 times.
And
so
makes your heart melt every time.
Heart is melt. It's over with. And so and so I did spend some time too in Alabama, and so now I'm here in the Midwest. So just had an opportunity to grace 4 different states. Yeah, but it's been an amazing.
And God has, He showed you some things in Alabama, right?
Yes.
And you were thinking like, God, you gotta be joking.
Got to be.
Like, this isn't for me.
This is absolutely not for me. No way this could be possible, because in my mind, I was thinking about the geographical location of how I could help me to be progressive in what I was trying to do and what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so God had spoke to me. I was actually going to Atlanta to the beauty salon because I had spent so much time there. My stylist, at the time, probably been together since maybe I was like 20.
Really?
So we spent a lot of time together on a weekly basis. And so I would just commute, going back and forth, because I hadn't officially moved to Alabama, and my sons both were in college at Alabama State.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how that connection of that area brought me to. And I was going back to Atlanta, and the Lord spoke to me for me to relocate to Alabama, Montgomery area. And I'm thinking, God, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing there for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even see how this is even gonna. I don't even know anything about this. But one thing I do know is that God, His word, when He speaks to me, that to be obedient to what He says. And it's the obedience about it.
Yeah.
At the time, it was good. I didn't see it at first.
Right.
I really did not see it at first. But as the by and by of what it looks like, it began to unfold. I began to understand, and it really changed my life. I began to and had the opportunity to start my modeling career, my modeling and doing all of that. I did my first photo shoot in Montgomery, Alabama.
Kids out.
Right. It's like how? What
Right.
I mean, coming from Atlanta, you would think that I would have got the opportunity to do it in Atlanta.
Where it's booming, it's entrepreneurs, and it's huge for Black people.
It is.
So Montgomery, Alabama.
Montgomery, Alabama. Yes. But it was amazing. The Lord had set me up with an amazing team of people to really help me be able to get that done. And definitely shout out to Charles Rose, who was my fashion stylist. He really orchestrated every bit of what that looks like with the makeup artist, the hairstylist, the photographer. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. And that really, really set the tone for the place. And I haven't even tapped into what that really looks like.
Yeah.
But that set that for me.
That's amazing. So he was there for you. Charles, did you say?
Charles Rose is his name. He was there, in a college student at Alabama State too as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, you were already there, Well, kind of. You were in the vicinity. You didn't technically live there, but as you were leaving, God said, "Oh, this is where I need you. I have some work for you to do. I have some people waiting for you. Doors are about to open for you."
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing. Amazing with that, and it really changed. My entire life was changed by being there. We'll definitely have to catch up on what all of that entails.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we'll get back to that.
Yes.
How do you find time to wear so many hats, but also how do you find time for Jafora?
I believe that self-care is most important. So I try to find the time for me first, so that I'm really able to pour out in the proper way the things that need to be done.
Right.
I think scheduling too as well, putting things in the right priority. Making sure I make good use, of my time and what it is that I'm doing. But then one of the hardest things that I learned was to know that it's okay if one day I decide that, you know what, I'm just not going to do anything.
Right.
And so I had to really, really, in my mind, I'm always like talking to myself, but I just don't answer back, saying it's okay. Because the whole time I'm probably saying, you should be doing this. You know, you need to do that. You know, you need to be writing this. You know, you need to be doing this, that, and the other. And I just go back to my mind and say, hey, it's okay.
Right.
It's really, really okay not to complete the things on that list because I need that energy to be rejuvenated, to get my mind clear and good. And then also one of the most important things that I do is my affirmations of how I start my day.
Okay.
With spending time with God. And it helps. It really helps set the tone for my day as well. And so filling myself up with God, seeking his face with my prayer time and my scripture reading and all of those things that go along with that really, 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 really helps me in trying to accomplish the things that I'm trying to accomplish for that day and even for that week. And one of the final things I say is I stay in the moment of that day.
Okay.
So a lot of times, I'll be already at Friday when it could be Monday.
Right.
I'm thinking about all of these things instead of taking the time to enjoy what Monday brings, whatever that brings.
Yeah.
Just stay with Monday.
Because tomorrow has its own troubles,
right.
Already that you have to think about. Just stay within the day that you are. I like that. I like that. Question. You were married before Mr. Fox.
Yes.
And can you kind of talk about that transition from being a girlfriend and being a wife? You know what I mean? Because you have to think differently. It's not just about switching titles or, I'm a wife now. It's an internal thing that you have to go through to be the best wife that you can be. You can't be a wife thinking like a girlfriend, And I've seen some things on Facebook before where women say, don't be a girlfriend acting like a wife, And it can have different meanings, But just can you talk about some things that you had to grow into to be a wife? Or do you feel like I was always just mentally how you thought? You never seen yourself as a girlfriend. There's some people who never seen their self as a girlfriend, but as a wife on how they were raised or what they seen. Was it a transition for you? Was it difficult for you? Or did you kind of just elegantly glow into your role as a wife?
I think for me it was not difficult because I believe that we are who we are. And so I think the same wisdom that I use as being Mr. Fox's girlfriend is the same as his wife.
Yeah.
Because he's still who he is. And those things are just, they're titles, and they're very important titles, I believe, of what that looks like. But in getting to know him and him getting to know me, those things don't actually change with the title.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that, okay, now I'm your girlfriend, that I'm going to be doing things different as your wife. And I think but then it also depends on, other things, which when we talk about from a sexual perspective and, your relationship with your religion and God and how that all of that comes into play and how you put those compartments. Because, as your wife is definitely different from being as your girlfriend when it comes from that, if you're speaking from your relationship with God. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
But as far as our relationship and how we connect with each other and how we do, the communication is the same. You know, making sure it's effective is the same. Making sure that I understand when is the right time to speak with him and talk to him about serious things, and when it's not. When I know that he's paying attention, and so all of those things I think comes from wisdom. That regardless of who you are and getting to know each other, you should still use those things, because learning and growing is always. Even as we are being married, we're still learning and growing with each other as well.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that because I know it's important to leave room for growth, you know, in a relationship or in a marriage. And as time goes on, we evolve as people, you know, and we grow, so we have to leave room for growth. Now, before you married Mr. Fox, you were in a marriage.
Right.
How long were you in that marriage?
I was married before 26 years.
Wow.
To my son's father.
Okay.
And that's part of the change that moving to Montgomery, Alabama plays to as well. Being in a relationship or being married, sometimes you know you need to move from that place, but it can be very difficult depending upon the components of what goes along with that, children, other situations financially, you just having the courage to just move on and move forward.
Right.
Just a lot of different things, but being in Alabama helped me to be able to move from that place of being in that marriage, which was not the best, and gave me the courage and strength I needed to move forward into doing something else. It really set me in a place of meeting some people that will help me to be able to make that transition, to be able to do that. And one of a dear friend of mine that I met helped me with that. And so that's important too as well. It's not so much, I was thinking one thing and God had it set up for something different. For what that looked like for me.
Yeah.
But it was difficult all the way around. It was very, very difficult.
I know on our call that we had, it was something you said that was so powerful. I mean, it was so many things you said that was powerful, but I really liked the way that you were thinking as a mother. So in the midst of that marriage, you know, when it wasn't going good, your children didn't know that.
Right.
You know, you said that you always kept your kids out of adult business. Right. You know?
Absolutely.
What advice would you give? Well, one, why was that so important to you? And two, what advice would you give to a woman who's going through, you know, this marriage, but they're staying for the kids? Although it's toxic, although it's unhealthy, but they're staying for the kids. What advice would you give to them? And also, why was it so important for you to keep your sons out of, you know, the bad parts of your marriage?
Because I believe that children love both parents. And I didn't want them to feel the need to take sides. You know, especially having sons. I mean, and I think children, period, whether it's a daughter or a son, you know, the children love both parents. They love their mother and their father.
Right.
And so I didn't want them to be in a position of that. That's not what you do for children. You know, allow them to love without any other stuff being put into that, any other ways of manipulating or creating a bad light into their eyes of their father or even their mother, vice versa, because sometimes it is, you know, it's either way. Yeah. And allow them to be the kids that they are. Just because two adults can't get along together, it has nothing to do with the children. Right. And I think that's maturity, I think that's wisdom, and I think it's exceptionally healthy for your children to not do that. Because when it comes to that, adults are able to develop in a different way of what this looks like, and children are not able to process that in the way that adults are. And so it was important to keep them being children. Yeah. Even as adults, we don't have those type of conversations that create the atmosphere of being a negativity, of speaking bad or ill of his father or him, the vice versa of me as their mother. And I really wanted to be checked with that. You know, I asked my son, maybe my youngest son, about what that looked like for him, to make sure that I didn't do that I never created the space for them to, for me to bring that out to them or to even share with them. You know, and I thank God for the wisdom of what that looks like. That's wisdom. That's God, you know, to be able to do that and to be able to create that. And so the advice that I would give to anyone
before we get into that, oh my goodness, because what you just said, You asked him, what does it look like to him? Because it may look like something different to you. And you could have been doing this for months, for years, for weeks, whatever it may have been. And then he had his perspective, you had your perspective. And you didn't know that that was affecting him because you didn't know that you thought that I wasn't, speaking ill about his father.
Right.
But in reality, you might have been.
Right.
Before you go into the advice, and which I'm excited to hear.
Or suggestion,
yes. Because they don't have to take
right.
it, but going from your experience.
Right.
You said that you asked him, your youngest son, what did that look like to him? And that's so important because not everyone think like us. We all have different perspectives. So you could have been saying the worst things about his father to him, but to you didn't think that it was speaking ill of his father. So I think that's just so powerful and important that you took the time to find out what did it look like to him, to understand where, what that meant to him or what it looked like or what it sounded like so that you could be cautious enough to make sure you didn't do that. Amazing.
I wanted to make sure of that too as well because I didn't want to be thinking and saying and providing that to other people that I didn't create myself. I don't want to be hypocritical in the way of saying, you know what, you don't need to do X, Y, Z, but then I was doing it myself.
Right.
So I did that, I guess, for clarification to make sure I didn't think that I did, but as you stated, sometimes you may do something that you're unaware of. But certain things were important to me to make sure that I didn't create that. And it could be the psychological part of what this looks like because one thing I do believe is that who you are will show up.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe in speaking negatively an experience about someone else from me. Because I believe that who you are, the person will eventually find out for themselves.
Right.
So I'm not going to paint the picture for you or whoever it is. You will eventually see the writing of the painting for yourself.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of how I am just within a person. I just don't think it's fair either because there could have been a reason and a situation that created the atmosphere between me and that person, but doesn't mean that that's mirrored in the way it's with someone else.
Right.
So we have to be mindful of trying to create certain pictures about things, especially when we speak about it from a parenting perspective. You should not speak ill will of the other parent.
Yeah.
And put children in a position and being uncomfortable of what that looks like. It's unhealthy.
Agreed. Now to your suggestions to a mother or a father, who are they're going through this marriage and it's not the best, and it's maybe the worst days that they've seen. But I know so many people who stay because they have kids. So many people are hurt and, by their spouse. And they're trying to figure out, how do I get away from this hurt when the hurt is the source,
right.
The person that I'm with. And so many people, sometimes they make excuses or it's all that they know. I'm doing it for the kids.
Right.
My kids come first and their happiness. But sometimes that's not the best thing to do either.
Right.
What are some suggestions you would give to someone who's going through that and they have children?
Yeah, it's really hard from that particular perspective to even provide a suggestion, a recommendation for that. Because I believe it's case by case, and I believe there are other factors that go along with that. I don't think that is a good decision to do. And so I am so thankful and grateful to God that He helped me and helped my son so that I think children see what they see and they know what they know, but it didn't scar them in a way where they can't come back from the negative part of what that looks like. And that's why I tried to make sure that I didn't create an atmosphere that created that for them, if that makes sense. It's that I'm not trying to have a disagreement in front of them. I'm not trying to, so if that mean that I had to kind of close my mouth or not say stuff at the time that needed to be said, then I didn't do that in front of my sons. The recommendation of that, it's just not good. It's not healthy for you as a person to do that. But you have to create your own space for what that looks like, because you're not just thinking about your children. When you have children, you're thinking about, okay, well, financially, maybe, how am I going to live?
Yeah.
How am I going to be able to take care of my kids? You know, and so because the dynamics of that, it's more than just, okay, if it's toxic, you know, leave.
Yeah.
You know, and so for that, you know, seeking out counseling is another component that's helpful to help you be able to cope with the situation that you're in at the time that you're in the situation.
Yeah.
If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have stayed. If I had to do it over again.
Yeah. Let's get into the love and the reconnection. And not to run from the bad, because it shaped us,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know, and it taught you lessons, I'm sure,
Yes.
a ton of lessons learned. We talked on the phone, and, you know, Mr. Fox reached out to you, and we'll get into all the details, I promise. But you were at a space where you and I, we had similar prayers, and we were working on ourselves and our relationship with God. After the divorce, you know, where were you? You know, not, mentally, where were you?
I was at a place where I asked God in my prayers, it said, you know what, to God to heal me. Make me better and not bitter. Allow me to, whatever broken pieces that the previous marriage had taken me through, and to all of the stuff that went along with that. I didn't want to sabotage anything else that was to come to me. That I was be able to be free to give love and be free to receive love.
Right.
And sometimes that can be difficult in a relationship, with being able to distinguish of what that looks like. You know, and so I just wanted to take the time. I knew it was best that I just asked God to come in and just saturate him like never before in me, and take the time to seek his face. Wasn't interested in anything else. I think, as I stated before, I think that's one of the easiest things to do is, you know, for a man or a woman to move on, find somebody else, and then you just take the same baggage and the same bitterness and the same anger and the same hurt and the same pain, and you just continue to put that in the next relationship, and it does not make for a good relationship.
Right.
And so I just wanted to be healed whole. I just want to be free in the way that God would have for me, and I believe that's part of the process. As well, even when going through the divorce, before it was actually final, all of those things that went along with that, and making sure that I stayed in the right perspective when it comes to my sons, you know, making sure now, okay, I'm away, and no, I'm not going to go and be saying negative things now that I'm away. I'm going to still make sure that I handle myself accordingly in the best way, and what that looks like. You know, and two, having sons, you know, I didn't want them to have any type of animosity or ill will towards their father. Yeah. You know, which could turn into something else. Right. You know, as adults, and, you know, and those type of things. I didn't want to be a part of what that looked like. And it's not necessary to do that. To be able to move on without having all of those other things to be set for them. And so I was very careful about that. And I think that comes from spending time with God. Asking God to order my steps. Yeah. God, how would you have me to handle this, and what would you have me to say? You know, and allowing him to come in and heal me like only he can. Yes. Like only he can do it. And you don't have to be bitter. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be upset. You don't have to live in hurt. You don't have to live in shame. You don't have to live in guilt, which is another thing. It's like, well, what are the people that we've been friends with and know all along, as I stated, we've been married 26 years, you know, what are these people going to think about me and the situation and what has happened and all of that? You know, you think about those things, which put you in a place of worried about what other people think, you know, and so you have to process what all that looks like. Yeah.
We're going to get more into that.
Yes.
There's always more.
Always more.
But I want to know, you know, because I know so many other people who have went through this, they stay because they think about what other people may think, you know. And I'm sure we all have the intention of, when we start something, we actually want to finish it, especially marriage, you know. Did you go through a point where you were worried about what other people would think?
I was at some point, but not much. My biggest concern was my sons. That's really my main focus. of the effect of them, even being adults, even what that would look like for them. And so that was really my whole focus, was making sure, not so much that like, okay, that they would be okay, because I knew they would be okay.
Yeah.
However, I knew that it was a process for them too as well. And I wanted them to take as much time as they needed to process what that looked like for them, even as adults.
Got it.
And so that was my most important part of what all of this looks like, because that's all they knew. That's all they know is their dad and I being together. And I wanted to make sure of what that looked like for them, and taking out that time, having a conversation if they were ready for the conversation, and if not, it was it was okay too. And just stay prayerful, and that God will continue to cover them and keep them, and that they're not detrimentally harmed, right, psychologically, emotionally, from what this looks like. Even though I know it's difficult, because divorce is difficult, period, regardless of what it looks like. So that was my main concern. I did think about the thought of others, but that was easily dismissed quickly, to move away from the need to want to care about or know what other people thought about. Yeah, because it's my life, and it's really just the life of making sure my sons were okay.
Yeah. Now, drum roll, please. So I was on Facebook, y'all, and I was just scrolling through my timeline, and then I seen this then and now picture that Miss Jafora posted. And it was her and Mr. Fox, but years and years and years ago. What was it, 35 years ago?
Years ago.
Oh, my goodness. So I never knew their backstory. I just seen them in church, and they would always be matching, and she would just be sharp.
Let me help you out. It's coordinating.
Coordinating.
Yeah, coordinating. It's coordinating.
Check me again. Yes. So they would be coordinating. Yes. Who's in charge of that?
Oh, I am.
You are. Yeah. Okay. I figured.
Yeah, he is just a willing participant. At first it wasn't, no, if he was really just, but now he's okay with, the flow of it. I kind of make sure that I take care of what he looks like, because I want him to look nice too, that's just not really his thing. He's a UPS, shout out to UPS. Yeah. And so he wears a uniform. Right. And so, busted brown uniform, UPS. And so that's but then when it comes to other, I'm more of the fashion type person.
She'd be
sharp,
yeah. She'd be sharp.
The more of the fashion. And so I just like for him to look nice and, feel good and all of that good stuff. And considerate of what his thoughts are too, and so he just kind of said, just go ahead, just flows with it.
I love it.
So now he's a willing participant,
coordinating,
and coordinating, and what that looks like. I think that was something for him to probably get used to. Yeah.
With before we get into the story, I'm just stuck on what you had on this past Sunday. Oh my goodness! And she usually always posts a picture on Sundays, and I love it. Let's share some fashion secrets, if you will, and if you can. Do you shop at, boutiques, and what's your favorite stores to shop at?
I actually don't have any at all.
Really?
Favorite. I just like what I like. If it's Target, you know what I'm saying? It's nothing to do with name brand or anything. I just look at stuff that's going to accentuate me. Okay. And what I'm comfortable with, regardless of where it's at. Yeah. What rack it's on. As long as I feel comfortable in what it looks like on me. Okay. And so I don't really have any per se of one thing or this store, that store, saying, oh my gosh, that is my all-time favorite. I do online shopping and looking at things.
Are you online? Are you in the mall?
Both. They're both. They're both. If I see something that I like, that I think that in all areas that it fits for the style of me, then I will. And so I like different type styles of things. Okay. I like form fitting. I like, flowy. I like, all of the stuff that goes along with just fashion. And so I may pick up a piece here and then think, oh, well, you know what, that's going to hit with that. And so, it's just, I think it's just part of just fashion. I'm not like so much of a matchy. That's why the word matchy. You know, it's like,
oh, that's why you corrected me out
well,
the door.
you know, too, because see, when I think of matching, I think of us having on the exact same items.
Okay,
that's match to me.
Got it. Okay.
And so, but what
Very
I try
specific.
to, yeah. So what I try to do is essentially the color coordination of it.
Okay.
When I said, oh, this looks good on pictures.
Yeah.
You know, but
you think about everything.
But I thought about it. I did. When I saw it, I said, oh, you know, and the Sunday selfie
Lovely.
part of that came from allowing people to see happy and wholesome relationships.
Okay.
Coming
Love
together.
it.
We see so much and hear so much about the negative aspect of relationship. And so the Sunday selfie just kind of evolved itself. And then when I tried to get away from it, if somebody will be saying, oh, well, we're looking for this Sunday selfie. Where is it? We miss you Sunday. You know, we're going to. And so, but it was encouraging so many people. And that's where it came from, really to continue with doing it because it was so encouraging to people. They really was excited about seeing something happy and wholesome and healthy and in a good relationship and what that looks like. And it definitely is not just for Facebook, you know. It's really evolved. That's who we are.
Yeah.
You know, like that's my best friend, you know, and always, and from the beginning, I would say to him, you know, we're Team Fox, you know, and that really had to resonate with him. And that's like another subject for men too as well, because men go through things in relationships too that can hinder them from being the best that they can be. And so there are some things that I had to work through in understanding and using wisdom with Mr. Fox too as well.
Yeah.
What that means, a team.
Right.
You know, what does that really look like? You know, and so I just kept saying it. And I just kept saying
Team Fox,
Team Fox, until he kind of jumped on to it. You know,
Team Fox.
It processed with them like, okay, well, we really are a team.
Yeah.
You know, and how we begin to put the things together as the relationship, even when it comes to finances and things like that, and what I was looking for and wanting to have, and where we were wanting to move forward with what this looks like financially, you know, purchasing a home, all of those things that come together that I think are important in a relationship, your religion, where you're going to attend church, all of those things are extremely important to have a conversation about beforehand.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's good. The selfie Sundays.
Yes.
I love it. So you guys, we'll make sure we post some selfie Sundays so that you can check it out, because when I say how she be sharp, dressing, y'all, dressing.
Just a little something, you know. Just a little something. Just want to be comfortable in who I am in the skin that I'm in, and not trying to be conformed to any box, of allowing no one to put me in the box of what that looks like, whether it's for church, whether it's whatever. You know, being out, being at home, whatever. You know, I just don't want to be placed in a box with anything.
And with your shopping, I mean, you teach financial literacy, you know, and the first subject you go over is budgeting, right? In this 8-week series. Yeah. So when it comes to fashion, I'm pretty sure you shop on a budget, right?
I have to shop on a budget. I have to shop on a budget because I like to have a whole lot of things, you know. I don't want to... you know, I have to be mindful of what that looks like too. And some stuff I'm like, oh, I really don't need that. I'm thinking, oh, but I really want that.
Right.
You know,
I
that
don't
is
need
so
it, but I want it.
That's so cute. You know, and so
and what if it's not here next time I come back?
Right.
And,
you know, going through all of that and asking myself, is that, you know, important to do? But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money in what it looks like. So no, that's not going to be me. I'm just not her. You know, some people do shop with it. They didn't cost them XYZ dollars, then they're not going to get it or whatever the case, you know. But I think clothes, you make them. I don't care what it is you put on.
It does
I can
not
put
matter.
on some jeans and a t-shirt and a blazer and some heels, and you can really make it be your own. Dress it up, dress it down. You know, however, throw a different necklace with that.
As you said, you know, I agree. I think that we make the clothes, you know, and even if you go thrifting, it doesn't matter where you get it from. It's really up to you to add some stuff to it, to dress it up and make it look nice, you know.
Right.
So, all right. The moment you all have been waiting for. The Facebook picture that I seen, the picture that they took over 35 years ago. And, you know, you posted it side by side of then and now. And when I seen that picture, I said, I know they have to have a story. And the title of this episode is Begin Again. Begin again. And I loved it. And it was something that you mentioned. I think that was your hashtag on the picture.
Yeah.
So when I seen that, I said, I know they have to have a story. Like, I wonder if she'll come on the podcast and talk about it, because I love. You know, even if you have to detour, even if you have to, you know, find your way back to each other, what's meant is meant.
Right.
You know, what's for you will always be.
Absolutely.
So if you can just take us back to when you guys first met, you know, with you guys having your detours in life, but also crossing paths again.
Right. We met, I was 15 years old. Derek was in the military. He had just came to the military, Mayport, Florida, which is not far from where I'm from, Atlantic Beach, Florida. My cousin and I were walking down the street, just minding our own business. And here these guys come circling around. I think he said was going in a different direction, and they saw us walking. They turned around and came back, and they began to talk to us, and, you know, was just talking and sharing, and, you know, whatever, exchanged information. Of course, back then it was totally different from the way of communicating. So
I'm sure.
Yeah. And so from that point, me and my cousin, we just proceeded going to our house or whatever, just finished enjoying our day. And then Derek and I, you know, just started talking. We more serious, and we actually were going to be married and all that good stuff. I was he was waiting for me to graduate high school, because I hadn't even graduated high school yet.
Wow.
And so he came to my high school graduation and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And as I said, we were, you know, just going to be married, moving on our life. And the picture came from when you're in high school, you have like your senior book.
Right.
And so you see your senior yearbook, but then we had like a senior like portfolio where it was like memories. And so you can kind of write things about your senior year or your high school years or whatever, and then have people sign it or whatever. And so with my mom, she always kept everything. And so that picture was in the stuff that I had left when I left home, you know, in my mom's stuff. And that's how kind of just go back to me even having that picture, even finding that book.
Mama always know.
Right. And I went back to a time at my mom's house, because she was actually transitioning she had taken ill. And so we had to move all of her things out of her house into her, like a garage shed type thing that she had in the yard. And so it was in a box, and Derek and I happened to be visiting, and I went into the garage shed area to just looking through some of the things that probably I wanted to take and wanted to have, and came across the book, and that's how I was able to even have the picture. It's like to even have the book and all of the stuff that went with it. But we were, and from that point of us being together, then we went our separate ways. And as I had stated before, I will say it was my fault that we went our separate ways. And so years had passed, and I promise no one could ever told me that I would be here in Chicago, that Derek and I would be married and a couple, and, you know, in a relationship. I mean, all of that this would be a part of my life. Like it was not even a thought to me. Because I really thought about, well, okay, that's over. You know, I went my separate way. He went his separate ways. I got married. He got married. You know, we have children, and, you know, we just went on about our business. And then one day I happened to see inbox that, you know, scared me half to death.
He sent a DM, y'all.
DM me. You know? And I knew that when I actually saw it, that it was, he said to me in our conversation, he was like, you know, I sent that to you months ago. How I didn't
Where
see
you been?
it. Right? All of a sudden, you just now responding. But I believe, this is my own thought, is that the Lord hid it from me, because at the time that he sent it to me, I wasn't ready, wasn't even looking, wasn't even interested, none of that. I just was wanting God to help me and heal me, and to make sure that I was the way that I needed to be. When that time came for that. And so that's kind of moved us a bit fast forward into the place of us just going back and forth in a long distance relationship, and all of the stuff that came along with that. But knowing then that we would be at this point of being married, because I wasn't in a place of wanting to be just being with someone just to be with them.
Yeah.
Without having a purpose of why we're together and dating and moving forward.
What's our intentions here?
Right. What are our intentions on what that was? And so when the transition came for me and we talked about it, it was okay. Well, I'm going to need to move to Chicago. Of course, he did say, as I stated on the phone, I don't think he really meant that, he would relocate and all that. I don't really think he really, and he was just saying it was a good gesture. But it sounded good, but it wasn't going to be the best because his son is here and he's growing up and he, needed to be in the area with his son, for that. So that was not definitely going to work. But it was, as I said, it was a good gesture for what that looked like. And so into that part, we was just talking and I was saying, in my mind, I'm saying, okay, God, for the time for me to transition, to be able to move, if that's what's going to be the case, I'm going to have to move. And so we talked about, we talked about this situation, and I was like, well, to find a job, because definitely that's another sidebar. I can't come here without having, my own direct deposit.
Right.
I just say it like that. To have my own. And so I said, okay, God, I'll apply, for a job, and if it's meant, then I'll, find a job here. And I promise you, the first job that I applied for, they accepted and was like, okay, we want to give you an interview.
Get out.
Like, oh my God. Okay.
It was happening.
Right. This was actually happening, and it's about to come to play. Okay. Yeah. So I flew here for the job interview, and of course got the job, and that was like in June.
Okay. June of what year?
June of 2014.
Okay. When did he message you? That was in 2013 or
2013.
Okay, 2013 he messaged you.
November
when 2013. I saw it, yeah. Okay, when you saw it.
I saw it. It was November 2013.
Okay. And then the interview here in Chicago, that was June 2014. Okay.
And then I moved July of 2014.
Okay. So you accepted that job?
I accepted that job.
Okay.
The training started, I would never forget that, July 14th.
Yeah.
And so...
Oh my goodness. And here you are in Chicago.
Here I am in Chicago.
Wow. I want to get into, when we come back, I want to get into, you were 15, and he was about 18 or something. And you guys were going to get married.
Yeah.
Like, how did you know at that age? So we'll get into that.
Oh.
Did you know, what you wanted in a husband? Did you feel like, I know he's the one? Because, what was that process like, or that thinking?
Actually, I didn't.
Really?
When I think about it now, it's like, girl, what was you thinking about? What were you doing? At that age to even really, but we had already fast forwarded to the place of, we actually had our first apartment. We moved in together.
Really?
So my first apartment, we lived together.
Okay.
And so I guess.
So wait, what age is this? The 15-year?
No,
16?
No. I had graduated high school.
Okay, graduated high school. Okay, I'm like, wait a minute.
Right, I know, right? Where's your mom?
Right. Okay, so you
graduated high school.
Had your first apartment together.
Yeah, and we moved in together, which that's where proceeded the part about marriage part of that. Of course, when we got our apartment together and moving forward in what that looks like.
And then you guys parted ways. You guys did your own thing. Right. You got married, he got married, and you guys have a blended family now, which means you both have children. Right. And you love them the same as if they were yours, So then you guys start dating, right? You move here in July of 2014. You start your training and everything. Where did he propose?
Well, actually, and that's a good question. I always thought about it. When I see other people's things, it's like, well, you didn't really propose. We didn't really kind of go through all of the formality. I guess the tradition, I would say, of what people do now, which is okay for me, but it's something that we already knew. Right. We already talked about it. We already had a discussion. We already knew the direction that we were going to go to and what that looks like. And so really my choice, because I didn't really press what that all looked like in the tradition of that, was to become a homeowner. let me just be honest with you.
Okay.
It wasn't the fact of, getting a ring beforehand. So I didn't have an engagement ring or anything like that because I didn't really want to spend money on what all of that looked like
Come on,
and the entail
budget.
of all of
Come
that.
on.
I wanted to become a homeowner.
Yes.
And so that's really where my focus was. And even when it came to our honeymoon, we didn't go on a honeymoon. Our honeymoon was a 5-bedroom home.
Yes.
That's
5 beds.
That was
3 beds.
right. That was my thinking of what all of this looked like. Because we
Businesswoman.
are older too.
Things that'll last.
I just wanted it to be. I just wanted to take the funds and the finances of that and really put it towards that part of it, because we could always do that. We could always go on a honeymoon. I think honeymoon is whatever you make it, whenever you make
Right.
it, however you make it.
Yeah.
And so we closed on the house June 13th of 2017, and we got married June 24th, 2017. Went back to Florida, so I planned a wedding in Florida, not being there, which only God set that up, and had the shout out, most amazing wedding planner, Valerie. Thank you.
Valerie.
If you're watching, Valerie, yes, thank you. Who carried out everything that I wanted, was so kind and so gracious.
And you two were in a different state. We talked about how you guys met. You guys had your first apartment together. We talked about you moving here and everything. So let's talk about where you guys are now. What are some of your favorite things that you like to do with Mr. Fox? Because you guys are so funny. Mainly you. I'm not Facebook friends with Derek, but with you, I know that you post just things when you guys are out and about. I think you guys were like in Dick's Sporting Good, and you guys seem so much fun. So what's some favorite things that you like to do with your husband? But also, what are some things that you guys do to just be yourselves? You know what I mean? Outside of church and outside of your busy lives, like what's a perfect day to you guys? It could be just hanging out or watching him golf or, shopping for the house, things like that. So
I would probably say, regardless of what it is, his favorite, just spending time with each other.
Yeah. That's important.
So
it's priceless.
It is. I don't particularly take Derek shopping with me because that's my own time. Please, he's a good sport.
Yeah.
But I'm more considerate of, because I like to just, as ladies I like to look at stuff like maybe 5 times.
Right.
Just look at it and then go do something else.
And then you feel bad if you got your man with you. And it's like, I'm coming, but you're really not,
I feel rushed
agree.
and all of that. Or I may, meet somebody in the store, like a lady. I was in the store and she was trying on some hats and some different things. We were looking and we was just sharing. She wanted my opinion and we was just sharing, and it just really turned into something. And that time Derek was with me and he was so patient. And then finally he was like, I'm going to sit in the car. And I was like, oh, that's
I'm ready
great.
to go.
So that's not one of the things that we actually do together is in shopping, but doing things together, period, just creates that quality time for us. Even if we're just riding, we do a lot of things together. Most of the things are done with us, and it's not enjoy out of going to eat pancakes and bacon or something.
I love it.
It's nothing that I would actually just be able to say that's like super grand, or just some of the TV shows that we've come together to. Probably they're taped. We don't usually watch them when they come on, and so we'll go through some of the shows that we like to watch together, and then we'll watch those things.
What's number 1 on y'all list as far as favorite show?
Oh my gosh, probably Blackish.
Yeah. Okay, that's a fun one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
Blackish, and the other one that's a spinoff from, it's when she was younger. I can't think of the name of it. Okay. And then there's another show, All Rise.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Yeah. And, but then we have our individual shows that we just, that's his thing, and and I don't watch them same time, but so watching those things, just kind of chilling, doing a lot of family activities with the family, or then church activities and stuff like that. So or even his coworkers or something may have something, or an event or something to be a part of. So as long as it creates us together. That's kind of what we do. So I don't really have any like grand thing. Like even if it's traveling or whatever.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
With what would you say, that got you to this point that you did not sabotage this marriage, with Mr. Fox? What was it, what advice would you give or suggestion, or overall in a nutshell would you say allowed you to be where you are in this space? Because you guys have been married almost 3 years now, or 3.5
3 years, June 24th.
3 years. Wow. And going back to your brokenness and things that you went through, and being divorced and remarrying, what did Jafora Fox have to do in order to receive what God had for her, in order to have this marriage that you have now, where you're so happy and it shows? What did you have to do to be able to have this that you have today?
Seek God's face, that He came into my heart and mind and healed all the broken pieces like only He can. And then I continue that journey of what that looks like.
Yeah.
Continuing to seek God, continuing to ask God to order my steps and to use wisdom in being a wife, and being a mother, and just life. And so for me, it's God. God is the essence of who we are. And so if there are some difficult things that come, because there's nothing that's perfect, that we lay them before God, and we allow God to deal with those difficult things that we can't handle ourselves, and He will allow that. But the essence is God of who we are.
I love it.
And that He stays into the place of Christ being the head of His life. And so that He can follow in the order of what that looks like. Him as the head, Christ being the head of Him, and then me, and then the children. And that's how the order flows. And when we take that out of order, then you're not going to have the relationship and the marriage that God has intended for it to be.
Right.
And that's for both parties, because sometimes as mothers, they put children before your husband. You put things before your husband. And then vice versa, and so you have to make sure that if you want a healthy, whole marriage, that God be the essence of who you are.
I hope y'all taking notes. I'm memorizing all of this. Jafora is teaching today. And even throughout the breaks, y'all, we have we got a lot going on today.
We do. Yeah.
But you would never know unless I told you.
Right.
But I've been learning on the breaks from her. And it's just small things about, who I should have on the show and their spirits and just positive energy. And she's just so calming. Like, it's a whole vibe. Before we go, I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Jafora, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored.
You are so welcome. I know it's not easy, coming on and talking about the bad, but I believe that you believe that this is for someone that's out there, and reiterating and emphasizing the fact that you can begin again,
Absolutely.
And as you said, seeking God first, keeping Him first. And even when you are seeking Him in your brokenness and you build a relationship with God, keep building that relationship with God. When you find love again, when you find another man or another woman, keep seeking God, keep Him first.
Right.
And before we go, let them know how they can get in contact with you. What's your email, or if you have a business cell phone, your website, just put yourself out there.
Yes, it is Jafora Fox. As I stated, as you know my name, my website is www.jaforafox.com. My office number is 312-598-1525. So you can contact me through my office telephone number as well as my website. You can also book a free consultation.
Come on, free consultation.
So got free, FREE, free consultation. Definitely give me a call, or you can reach me on my website for that, so we can set up some time. And definitely one of the things that I do like is the life coaching part of that, because even as a business owner, and if you are, we go through some of those things too as well, because we have to make sure that the mind is in the right perspective for anything that you do. So feel free to reach out. I would love to help you. One thing about me is that I am passionate about helping you be great.
Yes.
And that is what God has. One of the purpose and plan that he has for me is to help and to give back and to make a difference in the life of somebody else. And so I'm excited about doing that. I'm excited about some of the upcoming things that I have going on too as well.
That we won't discuss.
Right.
Because there's always more.
There's always more to this story.
Yes.
So thank you, Jada.
Thank you,
has been
Jafora.
amazing. This has been amazing.
It really has. I've been blessed today. To all of you listening, to all of you watching, I just want to say thank you for always supporting me. Thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for just being consistent. You know, I really, really cannot do this without you guys. So to know that you're watching and listening means a lot to me. Thank you to HausHill Media, my media network. You know, you guys are so amazing. I love the HausHill team. We are looking for more creative, so check out HausHillMedia.com. You can also go to More to the Story, the podcast on Instagram. And make sure you tune into my website, jadasharice.com. And I think that's it. We have to go. There's always more to the story.
Wanting to connect with me mentally. It was the questions he asked in return, the time he put in studying me, willing to learn. It was him repeating what I said to get a better understanding and to clarify. It was the effort he put in.